Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Calvos, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about quality education. So, good education is not just about acquiring knowledge, but also about developing skills, nurturing critical thinking, and fostering the learning habits. In today's webinar, we acknowledge that quality education is essential for the holistic development of individuals, communities, and nations. It empowers people to lead fulfilling lives, contribute to society, and drive progress. So, really very interesting topic, and I'm sure you will learn a lot in this session because we have an expert with us in this today's session. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Calvas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Calvas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, views, and recommendations, which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually, as well as to contribute to the world at large. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have a wonderful person as guest. She's internationally known personality, and we always see her while contributing to the field and world in different ways. And she is always ready to share her knowledge. So let me introduce her formally. She is a global Goodwill Ambassador in Humanitarianism, GIA USA, SA Ambassador, Ladies of All Nations International, UK, South Africa country, Director, Originating Dreams of Young Minds, South Africa National Director, International Youth Society, President, South Africa Chapter, Successful World One Academy, Global Ambassador, the Global Educator Fraternity, CEO and founder of the M.I.A company, the co-founding director, Helping Hands Social Society, multiple global accolade award winner, includes being one of the top 100 women in business in the world, as well as one of the top 30 women of the leaders and change internationally. In addition to that, she has entered the Appreciating Women Global Hall of the Fame in London, internationally public speaker and women empowerment specialist, sitting on multiple women's forums, GBV platform, and heads up COVID 19 and various communal initiatives to empower humanity. Last but not the least, she is a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, researcher, and above everything, a great human being. So please help me in welcoming our guest professor, Dr. Mahreen Mia. Welcome to the Calvas platform, and thank you very much for joining us, Prof.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. Haider Shah. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here and to grace the platform with you as well, who does such magnificent work. Alhamdulillah, I'm so proud. I'm proud to be here as well. Alhamdulillah for that. Um, so, Assalamu alaikum
Thank
wa
you.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, I greet everyone in the universe the greeting of peace with blessings wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is truly my privilege to sit here today and talk about a very important topic with everyone. Due to network issues, I'm not going to be doing a presentation. So we're just going to talk a little bit about something that's very, very important. And it's important not just for children. It's not important for any specific age group or any specific gender. It's something important across the board for every one of us, no matter where you are in the world. It is something that is rife and important for you to know about, to be aware about, and for you to grow yourself with. So, inshallah, by the end of this program, I'm hoping that at least one, if not many others, would resonate with some of the things I will be saying, and it will impact someone's life to make that positive change, to bring them positivity in their lives, and also to make sure that they learn from today so that they too can teach others from what they pick up from today, inshallah. If Haider gives me the, can I go through now?
Yeah, sure, please. Thank you very much. And I'm very excited to listen to your wonderful content and wonderful explanation regarding what is quality education and how it is going to impact us. I love the phrase you just mentioned, it is impacting everybody and everything. So, looking forward to it. Please continue. Thank you very much.
Sure. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quality education. This is what we're talking about. So there's two words in this title, right? I'd like to break it down a little bit. Let's just take the word of quality. What does quality mean for you? Whomever you are that is listening to us now, and if you're listening to us even later, what is your idea of what does quality mean? Does quality mean money? Does quality mean success? Does quality mean a certain level of something or a stature? What does quality mean? And I'll pause with that. Then when you look at the next word, which is education, what do you perceive education to be? What is education to you? Is education for you a vision of children sitting in a classroom with a teacher? Is education for you kids sitting in a massive lecture room and they're at university with a lecturer in front of them? Is education about us just going out and lecturing people like we do on these webinars? Is that what education is for you? And the reason I'm posing them without giving you the answer, it's as a rhetoric to you, is because for every one of us that is in the world, these two concepts have their own belief system that occurs within you. Now we're marrying them into each other and we're saying quality education. For me, that means it's the type of growth and development potential you have within yourself as an individual to gain your maximum capacity of your best version of you for your life. This is what quality education means for me. And majority of the people might not see that. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that for you to be able to, in a nutshell, become happier, become more positive, if you are wanting to perceive and do things and engage yourself with life in a better, higher frequency, energetic level, no matter what it may be that you are facing, for you to be able to do that, you have got to raise your own bar from where you're stuck at to another notch. That does not require money necessarily. That requires your time, your energy, and your effort. But what are you doing with the time, energy, and effort? You're engaging with awareness, firstly, of yourself, that, oh my word, this is not working for me. I'm aware now that this is negative for me. And what do you have to do when that happens? You engage with the educative part of you to learn what skill is required for me to alter this negativity, to reframe the negative thoughts in my mind, to make it positive now so that my life becomes better. Just by that example, what are you doing? You're gaining for yourself quality education, and that is gaining for you quality of life. So for me, quality education is not restricted to educators in a classroom, children in a classroom, tertiary students, lecturers, judges, lawyers, scientists. It doesn't restrict itself. Quality education is for every single one of us. And for me, there is no age bracket limit to education. I personally am a lifelong learner. I will continue learning until, inshallah, my demise. And I'm praying that whatever I learn is to give off. So as much as you would have heard, I have all the multiple degrees or certificates or whatever they may be. They're not plastered on my wall. The education is for me. Why? Because the worth of your certificate is only based on what you're giving off to humanity from there. Education is not meant to be just plastered on a wall for 20 certificates to be there and for people to say, well, she's got so many things. No, what are you doing with the education you've received? How are you being perceived for the education you have? That is important. So the quality and worth of a certificate is only based on what you're giving off from the education you receive. And the quality of that education is based on how you have developed yourself once you've received it. So I can educate myself to a maximum. But is the education I'm receiving helping to grow me personally? Or is it just because I need to get the certificate that's attached to it? And I'll give you a small example of what that means. A word that's currently all over the place, and it's a word I specialize in, empowerment. I specialize in this field of empowerment, whether it's for women, children, families, whatever, but that is my specialist field right now. And my other specialist field is educational psychology. When I tried to marry them both, there are new terminologies out there. But empowerment in itself is not something that is new. Empowerment has been with us, especially women, throughout our lives and centuries way before us. And not to make this discussion about Islam or anything like that, but just to give an example. And I'm sure in any other faith you will be able to resonate with what I'm saying. In Islamic culture and history, for example, My mentor is Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, and she was our Prophet Muhammad's wife. Why is she my mentor? And why do I mention her name when I talk of empowerment? Because for me, she was the epitome of an empowered woman. That was a lady who, over 1400 years ago, a lady who was a tradesperson in today's industry, in today's world, we will say she was the head of trade and industry in the world. Everybody was to do business with her. That's how we would regard her in today's world. But that's what she was back then, over 1400 years ago. Every person who was a businessman wanted to trade with Hazrat Khadija. They wanted to do business with her. Why? Because she was such a renowned entrepreneur. That's another word we know today, but was existing back then. She was so good with her business skills, her acumen. And she proposed to her husband. And she was older than him. And she managed the skill of being a business person together with being married, together with being a mother, to perfection. And she found a belief system that she stood for. And she utilized her funds because she believed in this so much. So if you have to cut it down to size, how new really is empowerment? It's not. It's just a word we now define our stature as in today's world because it works for us. But look into your history, look into your home. That's one Islamic version, but look into your home no matter what your faith is. You have a mother or a grandmother or someone in your home. That is an epitome of somebody empowered who's taking consistent decisions daily to make sure everything in your home is dealt with. Guess what? None of those women have the certification to say they are an empowered woman. They don't have a certificate for that. Yet they diligently just really go out and they perform that duty of an empowered woman within that household to perfection. No certification required. So what is their drive? What is their motivation? It is pure heart. It is pure mindset that I want what's best. And because that woman is seeing what is best for everyone around her, she feels comfortable within herself that she's given her best. Now, push that into the self of you as a brother, as a child, as a teenager. You want to feel the same. You want to feel that I am doing my best. I am going to achieve even better. I have potential to do even more. Have you seen somebody try a new recipe? They really want to go all out to make sure it's best. So they get the best of ingredients. They want to make sure the best of utensils are used. Why? Because you want the outcome to be so good. And you want whoever's going to taste it to actually say it's good. So think about it. That is exactly what quality education needs to be for you. Your self motivation, your self need for you to grow yourself, empower yourself, develop yourself, understand yourself so much better because it's your life's journey and for you to be better at your life. You can come to me, you can come to Dr. Haider, you can come to many of us in the world, and we will guide you, yes. But the only person who knows you enough to determine what about my life do I need to change? What about my education level do I need to change? Is you. You know yourself best. So, quality education. Simple topic, but so many different ways to read into it when it comes to you as a person, as an individual. And that's when I will pause to give you a story. I did a workshop once, and in that workshop, there were many people, hundreds of them, and they were all women. And I had asked them a question. I asked simply what are the topics that they would love for us to discuss. And everyone came up with beautiful topics. And right now, if I ask you to type in the boxes of comments, what are your important topics? You too will come up with magnificent topics, which will be important. Important for you, important for people, important for your children. All important topics will come up. But very rare would you find somebody say, I want to talk about me as a person. I want to talk about my mind. I want to talk about how I'm feeling. I want to talk about me as an individual, my goals. Everybody doesn't want to talk about that. Yet we want to keep growing. Yet we want to see ourselves develop. Why? Because we don't place so much of importance on our individuality. We place the importance on how other people perceive us as individuals. And when you do that, that control of the quality of you is given to somebody else. And I'm here to say, take back that control. That control of your quality of who you are rests with you because you were born into this world from your creator. And your creator given you that power, that gift. That gift of you being you is your gift from your creator unto you. If I give you a magnificent gift right now, which is a fantastic glass, something that you loved, what are you going to do? You're going to keep it and you're going to treasure it. You're going to make sure it looks great all the time. It's clean to perfection. No crack must ever come to this glass, correct? So, likewise, think of yourself as this treasure chest of a gift that your creator has given you so much about you. What about you is not deserving of quality? That quality does not have to come from outside of you. That quality has to come from within you. And to do the most quality of you, you have to educate you. So education is not classroom and university, not certificate based only. Education is about you developing yourself. And that is why my ideal when I speak on educational psychology, it's because I truly believe in holistic education, even in a classroom. And it's the one thing I find that is lacking right now. We are supposed to be moving towards 2030 with the SDGs. Our Sustainable Development Goals have got the deadline of 2030. We're in 2023. How far are we in reaching any of them? In any country. We still got so much work to do. Here in Africa, for example, I don't think we're near close to dealing with quality education. Why? Because I'm still seeing in certain areas, in certain remote countries of Africa, you will still see children barefoot, holding a bag above their head, and still trying to cross the river to get to a school. And when they get to a school, it's a school with no windows, with no roof. I've still seen pictures, and I go to townships to do feedings, etc. And I see kids who are still being taught, educated, but taught under a tree. And those kids still love going to that school. Under that tree is still where they want to be because they want to learn. So we are still very far from reaching the goal of making sure kids get free education, good buildings to be educated at. And it is amazing how, if you look at the SDG for education, it defines itself as to include equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. That alone is something for us to question. To ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, what do we have to do? The first thing is to do an assessment. The second thing is to put some practices and procedures in place. And third is to make sure we implement some strategies. We are very far from doing even the first portion, which is the assessment phase. Then you look at the second portion, which is promote lifelong learning opportunities for everybody. I just mentioned earlier that I myself is a lifelong learner. Lifelong opportunities for everybody. Right now, if you have to look at this on the net, some organizations are actually able to give you online training on certain courses for free. All it's going to cost you is your data. How many of us out there are taking the time to figure out, I like this topic. Is it for free anywhere? Can I go and Google it? Can I go and find out about it? No. Why? Because we're so stuck in the comfort zone, we want it to come to us. So as much as we want to give off the learning abilities and opportunities to people, do they want that for themselves is the question. So go today and do yourself the favor and find out what out there is there for me that can benefit me. Then if you look at the actual definition of this SDG, and I'm going to read it first. It says, education liberates the intellect, unlocks the imagination, and is fundamental for self-respect. I'll pause there before I continue. Education liberates the intellect. Wow. It does. It does, because it opens up all of your avenues of how to think about things in different manners. I can be a scientist today, but I can look at something psychological in a different way. I can be a doctor of medicine today, but I would like to understand what's happening in the classroom even better today. It opens up your avenues of thought process. That thought process opens up your mindset to views that are different, and acceptance of those views is important because it unlocks that imagination within you. And that is why it's fundamental for the self-respect. Because when you learn to respect yourself, you will learn to respect others also. So I can be in my zone as a professional in my field, but I will learn to respect and value those in the other fields as well, because each one of us is holistically educating the humanity. Let's move on to the next portion of that quotation, quote. It is the key to prosperity, and it opens a world of opportunities, making it possible for each of us to contribute to a progressive, healthy society. The key to prosperity. The key to prosperity then lies with who? Not with Dr. Haider or myself to give to you. This is our platform of giving it to you. But the key to actual prosperity for you to open up that world of opportunity for yourself is within yourself. And the key for that is for you to educate yourself to a maximum. That is what's going to make it possible for each of you to contribute. That is what's important about this phrase, to contribute. It is not just for you to sit there with your education for yourself and I have it and it's done. It is for you to contribute with what you are educating yourself with to the progressive society. So what you learn helps yourself, helps your family, helps your community, helps your society, and helps your nation. And that is how we build and we progress in that togetherness, in that unity. And then we build the healthy society. The last portion of that is learning benefits every human being and should be available to all. Yes, learning does do that. And every human being will benefit from it. The problem is it available to all right now? We have this system, and I'm sure it's all across the globe, where you have the private sector and the public sector of schooling. And then, of course, you have the tertiary sectors, and you have certain levels of professionalism. In the corporate world, you have different sectors and levels as well. What does that teach? My humble opinion, it teaches barriers. That teaches a barrier. You have kids that are going to the public sector and private sector, all starting at the junior phase, going into the secondary phase, finishing off their matric and grade 12s, correct? Two different sectors, all with the same potential of growth, same potential of leadership, same potential of wanting to be the best in their worlds. And then they meet up at the university tertiary stage, coming from the completely different grounds. What happens? You have the clash of personalities. You have the clash of the bullying going on because I'm better than you are. Who created that? Who created that divide between our youth? Why should there even be this divide in education? Because everyone needs to be educated equally. Every one of our children, no matter which remote area you come from, every one of us, no matter what your gender, our children only have education which can help them to grow. Some children in the classroom you will find are children that are so good at academics, but they're not good at practical stuff. Others are so good with skills and practicalities, but they're not good at academic. Do the schools have systems in place that allow for each one of those different children to grow in their streams of what they're good at? Or do we just enforce what the curriculum say and they have to conform? Then you have the problem with the parent. Parents today have got so much on their plate. There's a rat race that is going on for them to make ends meet. Some houses have both parents working. Some are single parents that are looking after kids. These children don't have that parent to come home to. They have a parent, but they don't have the parent who has the time to take over from this educational part of things. Kids have to just see to themselves, get homework done, make sure things are met because the teacher needs it the next day. That parent, for me, I sympathize with, I empathize with, but I need to reiterate to the parent. The education part of your child begins with you. The time you give to your child is the first portion of that education. Because if you don't do that, what are you teaching your child the importance of life is about? Then you wonder, why is my child more close to the teacher at school than the child is to me? Why does the teacher at school know more about my child than I know as the parent? because you don't have the time. And because when you are home, you are so tired from taking care of everything that you have to take care of, that the child feels scared and feels a burden to have to say to you, Mom or Dad, I have this going on at school, I'm not happy. Oh, I don't like what this teacher said. I don't like what this child did. And then when you go to the parent meeting, that's when the teacher tells you this and then you don't believe it. That sense of accountability and responsibility sits with every parent out there. So please make time for your child. That's the only thing they need. You give them the time, they'll give you the result. That's what we need. And then you look at the educator. No matter which field you're in, if you're an educator right now, you're not appreciated to the fullest. That much I can see, not just from being an educator myself, but also from me counseling other educators. The educators today are feeling like they have to be too many things in too many places, and it's not worth it anymore. And these are people that actually took on wanting to teach and educate because they had a passion for it. That passion is slowly being diminished because there's so much of academic involved, there's so much of admin involved. I don't have to focus so much on teaching anymore because I have to make sure stats are ready for a syllabus to be complete. Can you imagine the mind of a teacher then? And then, of course, we had this pandemic who threw everything off guard. And for me, the biggest frontliner through the pandemic were the children and teachers. Yes, I give credit a lot to all the doctors, nurses, frontliners, armies, everybody. I myself was one who went out and did whatever. But at the end of the day, for me, the frontliner that deserves the hero awards were those teachers and kids. Why? Because they just had to succumb with the yes, go to school, no, go to school. Yes, go to school, no, go to school. And then you had the educator who had to go into school, not just a teacher anymore. The educator had to suddenly become the police officer, the controller, the psychologist, the therapist, all in one, plus teach and still make sure everything goes smoothly. Those children who had the mind of, yay, I'm going to go to school tomorrow, I'm going to see my friends, we're going to share lunch, suddenly had to be, no, you stay in that box and he stays in that box. What happens to the mind? And then we had educators who passed on to COVID. We had children who passed on to COVID. Which person took the time in any authority area to go into schools or go into programs or go and actually help the mindset of children to adapt to those losses? Teachers to adapt to losses of their colleagues. All of this they had to just deal with, suck it up, and just cope. These are things that are out there, little portions of things that everybody's experiencing every day in the line of education. So when we say we want quality education for our children, quality education for us, what are the streams of events and things that are happening to help or to curb people from stopping them giving their fullest when it comes to educating us? So when it comes to what this SDG is talking about, when it talks about the progressive, healthy society, when it talks about how it's important for benefiting every human being, there are certain things we have to look at as to why it's not happening. Do that assessment that is so lacking right now. And it's not just us who sit on panels and boards who can do that. Take the time, you as a parent who has a child in the school, take the time to ask your child, how is things at school? How are things with your teachers? Go to the school. Ask the school, what are you lacking? What is the problem at the school? Get involved with the governing bodies of the school, the structures. And you know what? The biggest source of information for the school environments in your community areas are the children who attend the school. Do not undermine the children and what they can speak of. Children today have got mindsets that are brilliant. They can even offer you a solution sometimes to what you think is a problem they face. But do we take the time to ask them? No, because we think we have the answers for them. And those answers sometimes do not work. But that assessment portion of trying to benefit and create a healthy society starts with each one of us. Even if you are not a parent, the portion is that you live within a community. That community has a school being housed there. Take the initiative. Take the small time responsibility and say, I am going to try. Let's see what we can do to help our kids. Let's see what we can do to help ourselves. Because helping each other is educating. Helping each other is benefiting for a quality life for everybody. That does not require money necessarily, it requires time. And if there's one thing I always try and teach is when you're given two gifts, well, three gifts when you are born into this world. You're born with three gifts. One is the gift of choice, one is the gift of time, and one is the gift of your life. What you choose to do, your choice, what you choose to do with the time in your life is what's important for you to have a quality life. Therefore, what you will choose to do for quality of education in your life is the same. So do you not owe it then to yourself to say, well, education for me is best because it will help me to be the better me? Because that's what it's about. It's about you being so in touch with yourself that you know what you need, why you need it, and how to get it. Lots of people will say to me, well, it's easy for you to say but everything I need to do costs money. It doesn't have to. Have you researched it? Have you taken the time? Sometimes it's just small things that alter your life, alter your mindset. Those are things you can work on at home. Listening to things like us talk, listening to other webinars, YouTube's full of different stuff. Download something that you know is beneficial for you. That's educating you. Take the time off from actually watching one of those soapy movies and go and download something that's going to benefit you for yourself, not create a stress level, not create a strain, but grow you. Is that not key? When we want to talk again about the free education, free primary and secondary education forms part of the SDG. How close are we to getting there? We said that we need to make sure all the girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education is necessary. We're very far from reaching that. And when we talk of the actual SDGs, why did they say we need to give free primary and secondary education? Because it will lead to relevant and effective learning outcomes. That is directly linked then to the next point that they come off with the SDG, and that is equal access to quality pre-primary education. And I love that they included that because it is so important for us to focus a little bit on the early childhood development of our children. And here I will pause to give one other small twist in the tail. If you take 20 children, different colors, different nations, different cultures, different faiths, all of them, take 20 different ones, all across the globe generally, and put them into a beautiful playpen and watch them. These are the preschoolers I'm talking about. Just watch them. Will you actually see any one of them not touch the next one? Will you actually find one of them say, but you're wearing this brand and I don't like you? Will you find any one of them say, oh, I don't talk to you because you're a different skin color? Or because you're wearing that, I won't be able to be your friend? As in, if you're wearing a hat or you're not wearing one, etc. Children at that age don't see the barrier. They see humankind. They see a fellow brother and a sister. So when we talk about going into early childhood development phases, we need to understand that mindset. And then we need to figure out where did we lose the respect for each other in our mindset. Because that cultivates from somewhere. It starts from somewhere. And then again, it boils down to the fact that we have to alter that. That reframing, that change starts from each one of us. Again, it boils down to us educating ourselves a little bit more. Help your son and daughter understand the gender base. Help your son and daughter understand how to respect each other for their genders. It curves the GBV. GBV issues come up later, yes, but sometimes they need to understand at early stages how to respect each other. Kids sometimes are privy to these things at home, but we can educate them within certain environments to see that that is incorrect behavior. Here's this might be correct. And we can answer their questions. Let's not throw our kids aside. Let us make sure that our kids are given what we're saying they need. When we have to talk about the SDG, again, one of the other things they talk about is the equal access to technical and vocational higher education. Very important again. Why? because we're saying that they need to ensure equal access for all men and women for affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including university. So, what exactly is this and why is it important? Equal access. Why do we even have to mention that? Because we don't have equal access anymore. Because for some reason, if you are a woman sitting as a chair of a board, and I know this because I've experienced it, suddenly some men don't want to sit there and take an instruction from you. That's fine. I'm not here to be your competition. I'm here to be your collaborative partner to work with you to make sure we grow humanity together. We're not in competition with each other. There might be things that you can teach me as well as I can learn from you. So we don't have to create the barriers again. We need to drop those barriers down and start to see things for what they are, respectfully so. And I go back to the concept of empowerment, which I spoke on earlier. Remember that when you're empowering someone, whether you're male, female, child, you being an empowered individual does not mean that you have power over other people. You being an empowered person does not mean that you have power to dictate to other people. You being an empowered person, an individual that is empowered, means that you are so grown within yourself, that you have developed yourself to a maximum, that you are able to make clear decisions, decisive modes within you, that you can come across very diplomatically in how to address situations, how to know certain things. That is your empowerment. Empowerment is from within you. It doesn't mean that you are power over anybody. It doesn't mean that you are superior to anybody. An empowered person will not make the next person feel inferior to them. So when we want to talk about increasing the access to affordable technical higher education to people, let us also teach people that we need to be diverse in knowing that when we're growing into this level of higher education, we need to grow with it equally, understanding and respecting each other equally, and respecting the fact that one will know more than you. None of us know everything. I'm sitting here now, and I promise you what Dr. Haider knows, I don't know. I will still learn from him too. So we continue to learn. Humble yourself to learn, because that is what this journey is about. It's life. And the biggest lessons of education you will ever get is from your life. The key for you, though, is to be able to understand how to make that a quality lesson so that you get quality education out of it. Other instances of this SDG with quality education were a very important one for me is to eliminate discrimination in education, increase the number of people with relevant skills for financial success, and of course, then to educate sustainable development and global citizenship. Might seem like big words, but break it down into your areas, break it down into your space. Every one of us, like I said earlier about the kids in the classroom, everyone has got different skills. Tap into your skill. What is your skill? What works for you? And this is why I'm saying it's not restricted. Quality education is not restricted to just the children in the classroom. You as a mom, a dad, somebody who's working, somebody who owns a business, ask yourself, what about yourself and your skills for your financial success? Can you change or can you better? Maybe they're working and you want to better them. When once you better your own skills, better your staff skills. Find out and send your staff for training. Let them also better themselves so they can better the lives of their families. It's about growing together. Not just you growing yourself so you can have a placard of certificates behind you. No, grow yourself and then grow others around you. Eliminating that discrimination in education for me is key, because those gender disparities in education that we find shouldn't be there. Education is general. Education is for everyone. Education is for everyone because it's about everyone. And when you're somebody who has a purpose to make sure humanity is educated, then there should be no gender barriers. Nothing. We have to break that down. Ensuring equal access to all levels of education. So from your preschool developmental stage up into your tertiary, we need to make sure everyone has a chance of that education. I don't find a system where it's fair that a child learning under a tree who's showing so much of loyalty and commitment to education, because of financial issues, will not have the chance to be educated at tertiary level. That for me is sad, because you don't know the potential that child has Already the fact that that child will cross the river barefooted to make sure he's under that tree to get that education every day, for me tells me that is somebody who's loyal and committed. Those are two leadership qualities already. Does that child then not have potential to be a quality leader in this world? So why does tertiary have to become such a barrier that that child can't get in there? It's important for us to understand this discrimination and divide has to go. We have to include our people with disabilities. We have to make sure they are treated as if they are able, because they are. They're sometimes more able than abled people. I worked with them. I know. I have so many of them that are beautiful, beautiful minded somebodies. Their mindsets are so open as opposed to the balance who are not disabled. So open yourself to understanding certain things about other people around you, and you will start to learn from your own assessments of certain things. What about life? What about your community? What about the children? All these things that need to change. What needs to change? How can you contribute to that change? When you have to talk about another target of the SDG, it says to build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools. I won't go into the other targets, but I will pause with this one. Build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools. I find that this is a sad target because between the start of actual SDGs coming up until 2023, we have moved in the reverse of this target. We're supposed to be moving to building and upgrading inclusive and safe schools. We instead are moving towards the degradation, exclusivity, and unsafe schools for our children. Even universities. Educators feel unsafe. Teachers are feeling unsafe. There is no equal education. There is no upgrade of education for any child to feel like I'm moving forward. We're actually going in the backward direction here. Bullying has become a norm. It's sad. It's become a norm. And when you tell a parent your child is a bully, parents refuse to believe you. So what does an educator do? How is it dealt with? For me, the key then is to go to the schools. Get these little concepts dealt with in the schools. I have a program which I run that does that. You go into schools and you actually start to enlighten kids because teachers are so overwhelmed with the current curriculums and the syllabus that they have to finish. They don't have time to deal with these world concepts, life concepts. Kids need to be aware of these life concepts, what's good and what's not, what's right and what's wrong. It's not just textbook stuff, it's life stuff. We need to teach them what is violence, how bad is it, what is not kosher, what it means to be respectable. Respectable first towards yourself as a self, respectable towards others as your peers, respect for your educator, respect for your parents, respect for your elders. Everything is about your respect first. When you respect yourself enough, you want to grow yourself, then you want to educate yourself. But these are concepts that we're just overlooking. And for me, that's what's creating this degradation, this exclusivity, these barriers, and it's creating unsafe environments for our children. So looking at this, then you have to understand that the children have got to stop seeing the divides. They have to start seeing safer, non-violent spaces. And if they come from a violent space into a school, they don't want to see violence there too. What happens to their mindset there? We are so far from reaching this SDG fascination. It seems so brilliant to have this concept and see it in reality, but we're not getting there. Why we're not getting there is what we have to ask ourselves as educators across the globe in whatever field you're in, as somebody who's leading in your community, as somebody who's leading in your home. Ask yourself in your home, am I aware of what's happening in my child's school or my niece's school or my nephew's school? Am I aware of what's happening in my community? Or am I so engrossed in my own life that I just don't know? Or maybe, sadly, you might be somebody who just doesn't care because you've got too much to deal with. That is the mentality. And it's an understandable one too. We can't judge because people know for themselves what their flights are, what their plights are every day, what they need to do. And some of them don't have the time. But that's just it again. It boils down to you have the gift of time. You have the gift of choice. And you can choose to do with your time what might benefit you and others around you. So small things. When you look at the SDGs, they tell you donate your used books. So, for example, I know I have my own library. I love buying books. I love reading books, stuff like that. And if you have spares and if you have something that you're not looking back to, donate it. Build up your own little libraries for kids that don't have them. Build up a little system. This is just a hypothetical example. Little system where kids can come to you. I've got 20 books. There's 20 kids. They're going to alternate those books between themselves in your little village or your community. And then that will grow as you get other people to contribute their books as well. Let us go back to where the kids don't just look only to our device. They can read. They can read. They can write. Invite our children to write more, not text more. Yes, we can't move away from the fact that there's technology, there's devices, and it keeps getting more and more technologically advanced. But teach your kids the basic principle of reading and writing. Write. Writing is therapeutic. We all know this. So teach them to write. Write a letter to me every day. My daughter does this all the time. I find snippets of notes all over the place. And it makes me feel good, but it makes her feel good to express it too. So as much as we have the increase in technology, let's also keep ourselves humbled by the fact that these were old beginnings, but they still stay true. Write and read. So donate your used books and help your others grow with your books that you can give off. Everyone is going to pick up the book that you have donated is going to say, wow, I love this book. Silently, you get a silent prayer of blessing. You don't know who your book can uplift. Whether it's a novel, whether it's an actual textbook in a school and a child doesn't afford one, but they can use that one you have. So you go and look at what you have. And then remember that, like I said before, in this digital world, there's so much of stuff on the net that we can look at to help ourselves. So you owe it to yourself, as the treasure chest I spoke of earlier, to actually find what can work for you. Go and find an online course that you can do for free. First, what can you do for free that's out there? And then grow yourself with that one free online course, and you will feel that upliftment. You will feel that I'm empowered because I did this course well. You will feel that I have tomorrow to look forward to because I've got part 2 of this, and part 3 and part 4. And most of them that do this do certify you at the end with a free certificate. So it's an upliftment for yourself that you're doing for yourself, and how beautiful will that feel? Remember that you can visit the schools, like I said earlier. Ask the schools how you can help. Maybe create a volunteer team with the youth in your area. And then mentor young people. Mentoring young people is so important. And the one thing I will say here is when you're doing that, please remember the young people leech off your example more than your word. So I can stand and I can speak to the youth and I can tell them everything under the sun. But they will first look to see when I'm at break on the interval of my talk with them, they will watch my behavior. How am I talking to the next colleague? How do I address the next student? They will watch everything about you. So more than your actual word and you talking, they leech off your action. So when you want to mentor young people, lead by example first. Don't just go off and I don't talk from a textbook. So as much as I love the studying factor, and I will always study and benefit myself through that, and then others, inshallah, I always try and teach of what I know works. So the lessons that I teach are from my own life, from what I experience with other children, and et cetera, et cetera. So remember that when you are talking and trying to mentor others, the most mentoring comes from your leading by example, because that's what they look at. People believe, for example, that you are the most empowered person, you won't have any issues in the world. Even as more empowered people have problems in this world. The empowered part of us is what comes forth and helps us to get through it successfully, inshallah. So you owe it to yourself to become your own mentor and then to mentor others around you. And that's where I would like to pause and say that quality education is your quality of life. And the definition of your quality of life comes from you giving yourself quality education. Thank you so much, Dr. Haider, Shah, for this opportunity. I look forward to the questions that will come up. I will not go any further than that right now, but let's just talk even more, inshallah, as we progress with the program.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Prof. Superb the way you just explained everything. I was looking and I was just trying to connect the different dots which you were actually describing and explaining very well. I love the way you started it from the breaking it down from what is quality and what is education, followed by wonderful concepts of satisfaction, empowerment. What are these and how they are interrelated? And I love the way you just talked about the SDGs and how it is related to it. I love the way you just talk about the schooling. How do they affect right from your wonderful assessment of the first part is the assessment, and then the how we are going to see the practices and then implementing it very nicely. You have talked about all these things, and then you give a wonderful examples of the different how can we make education free and accessible to all. And I love the way you just talked about that the passion for education of the such child who just walk barefoot for the education, and they are trying to learn under the tree, but they want to learn and they have a great potential in themselves, and how they it can be beneficial for the community, to the country, to the nation, to the world as a global citizen. Very nicely you have mention all these things. I love you are one of the another phrases regarding the school that we need to build them, and we need to upgrade and make them more safe place so that people, particularly the children and the young even, they could come easily, they can express themselves and develop their skills and knowledge, which is actually impacting their life. And very nicely you have talked about the role of our responsibility towards how we are going to mentor, and we should lead by the example. Very nicely you have talked about. And I love the part you talked about the parents and their responsibility. How can they be so close to their child that what is happening in the school, and whether they are able to solve their problem, and how they are connected giving their time to their children. That is very important. I love your another phrase. You use so great phrases, but I just remember a few of them, and one of them was the do educate your children how to write instead of even texting. Yes, in today's world, they most of the time the children, they just text the messages, but they don't know the art of writing, which is important thing. And I would quote the Brain Tracy, one of the self-help. He has more than 80 books on self-help and to develop yourself. And he used to say that whatever you want to achieve in your life, you have to write it first. So this is, I think, the wonderful part, that how you are going to write your goals and how you are going to write and translate on paper, and then you will be able to achieve it. So thoroughly, I enjoyed this wonderful session with you right from the first point to the last, because you just mentioned it. It is the life skills. It is not the text skills only. The life concepts are the life lessons, I would say. It is just a wonderful things, and you were connecting the different dots in such a wonderful way that it was just like a storytelling. You were connecting different things through the story by examples, even your own personal experiences, and so many things. Really enjoyed this wonderful session, and thank you very much for sharing such a wonderful experiences and exposure with us. Yes, if you allow me, should we start with the first question, because a lot of questions are waiting in the queue?
Yes, sure.
Thank you very much. The first question is related to the technology, which I mentioned earlier as well, because a lot of technological advancement is there, particularly in the era of the AI. We cannot undermine the role of technology, but how to make best use of it, that would be the great challenge for the educators, particularly. So the first question they want to ask that, Prof, thank you very much for such a wonderful explanation. Would you enlighten us regarding the role of technology? That what role does technology play in delivering the quality education, which you also talked about the quality as well, and what are the some best practices for integrating technology in education? Yes, please.
Sure. Thank you so much for the question. Technology is becoming very, very important for our children, especially, and our youth, especially in schools. We used to find it more so in the university before, but nowadays you're finding even kids in a primary school coming home to say, well, we need to Google this and we need to find out this and I need to research this. So nowadays, children in primary school and even little bits of high school are actually doing research material. That requires them to not go into an encyclopedia like we used to and go to a library to go and have 15 books open to try and find the research. They now have to go and Google it and they have to give the site as a reference. So it's not a book as a reference anymore. Children have to give on a site as a reference. So many parents, for example, will come forth and say, well, I'm not happy with my child having to use the device. And as much as I can also empathize with the fact that children get so absorbed with the technology that they forget other things and they forget their responsibilities, they become distracted by it. We need to also understand that technology is here to stay. And if you're going to fight with technology, you're fighting a losing battle. You need to meet it halfway. So, as a parent, and when you talk about the second portion of your question, how to integrate it, as a parent, when it comes to the social aspect of your devices, you need to actually put your limits on that. Might be difficult. You will get the headway when your kids are teenagers, especially, but you need to put your time limits on that, especially if you're wanting to see the results in the schooling arena. When it comes to working with the devices, perhaps if you're not somebody who's accustomed to devices and accustomed to technology, when your child is working with it, sit with them and get to learn, and you grow together in that learning sphere. So remember, technology is here. It's not going away. AI is going to become a norm. And if you're going to be the parent or the educator who's old school and not prepared to accommodate it, then you're going to make yourself be left behind. Get with the program, literally. Understand things a little bit more. And if you want to go back to an example, just go back to when the pandemic hit us, Dr. Haider. Many educators were old school and had no idea how to do a Zoom lesson. Okay, they had to quickly learn, what does it mean? How do I download this? What does it mean to do the lesson? What do I have to do to add on my students? Kids themselves were not used to the Zoom. So that in itself made people have to become technologically inclined in order to get through the education part of things then. So go back to that example and realize it's going to keep getting more and more advanced, and you have to keep getting with the time as it grows. So it's going to continuously be integrated. I know of many schools, for example, right now, who have apps that the schools work with. So those children who leave the school have got to have this app on a device at home to be able to access material in the school. So AI is there to stay. Technology is here to stay. Devices are going to be there to stay. As a parent, depending on your child's age, you need to be able to control things and put your control measures in place so that you feel better and your child is more restricted in a certain way. So it's discipline, but it's not something you can fight with. It's something you need to embrace, and it's something we all need to get to terms with, inshallah.
Yeah,
I hope that
alhamdulillah.
answers your question.
Thank you very much. A very elaborative answer to it. And I love the part of your suggestion as well that we have to embrace the role of technology, and we will lose the battle against the technology if we want to fight the technology. But we can use the technology in a best way for our life. And putting limits on the time, on the social aspect of the children, I think that's the wonderful idea you have given, that how can they have a restriction or restricted use of technology in that perspective. Thank you. And Prof, there is another interesting question, and this is how somehow related to the technology as well, but it is more inclined towards the future of work. They want to ask that, Prof, how can education prepare individuals for the future of work, which is rapidly evolving and increasingly digital nowadays, and the e-commerce particularly? So please share your opinion on that. Yes, please.
Thank you again for the question. I think it's key for us to understand that if technology is going to form part of your work, then before you endure and actually take on the work, you need to be skilled in the field that you're applying for. So remember, if I have got an advert that's out for somebody to come to work for me, and I put in there that I want you to have this specific version of this and know these things about technology, if you don't have them, don't apply for them. But what that does is it makes doesn't mean that you fail because you don't know it. It means that it's enhancing you to understand that there is a new program or a new version to a program you're probably not too used to. And what that should do for you is not motivate you. It should motivate you to learn about the new one. So when the next position becomes available, you have gained experience, you have the knowledge and the skill, so you can apply for the next one. So don't become despondent when I want to do a specific job and the actual job is showing me I need to have this, but I don't. I only have halfway. Motivate yourself to get to that point. But remember also, technology is going to keep upgrading itself. You have to keep upgrading yourself as it goes as well. So when it comes to e-commerce, everything, for example, right now is online, Dr. Haider. We all know this. To a point where, again, go back to COVID, for example, we had no means to get to a shop. So the shops had to come to us. So we had apps where we downloaded them and we had to just order the groceries that would come to your door and be left outside your gate, correct? So someone who's an elder in a home who couldn't get to a store had to suddenly learn on my device that I'm video calling my kids from, I need to download this app and this is how I will order my milk and bread. Again, you had to learn it. You had to develop it, and now you have a skill. So now you go back to the same person who never had an idea on how to do that. That person now knows how to order the entire grocery list online. So it's about you as an individual. If you think you want to go into IT, if you think you want to go into a specific phase of AI, then it's up to you to develop your skill to that effect. But to remember that that specific portion of AI is also going to continuously grow. So you're not going to get to that point and be set and stuck. You're going to have to keep growing as technology keeps advancing. So, inshallah, when you have to look for future employment, remember AI is always going to be there. People used to initially have massive desktops with big keyboards and a big screen. Now it's a mini laptop. You can even use whatever's on your laptop on a tab. So everything is shrinking in size. So you need to learn how to work with all of your devices and keep abreast of them. So as you're thinking about your future employment, think also of the fact that you need to be futuristic in your mindset and learn these new initiatives so that you can be best skilled for the job that you would love to do, inshallah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for once again a great answer. And I think it's the, let me rephrase it, that they need to prepare themselves for the future job, and whatever things are evolving, they need to upgrade their skills as well, which you have already mentioned in your wonderful presentation, that the schools particularly, they need to be upgraded with the latest one. So the same for individual, that is true, that they need to upgrade themselves, particularly the skills in the rapid evolving challenges and the dynamics of the market. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying the way you are giving answers so great, but since we have the time limitation, so we have to wrap up and we will take the last question, which is very important. And the question is thank you very much, Prof, for such a wonderful presentation. And you also talked about the SDGs. SDGs are there to guide us regarding the quality education. But my question is, Prof, that what do you recommend and what can policymaker do to support and promote quality education? And what are some effective strategies for advocacy? Yes, please.
Sure, thank you so much for the question. I think the whole thing starts with a government or persons in authority. Remember, though, that person sitting in a boardroom who's putting together a procedure that needs to work at ground level has never been to ground level. They don't know what's at ground level. They don't know of the child who's crossing that stream to get to a tree. They don't know of the schools that have broken windows. They don't know of the child who's having difficulties with certain concepts in the curriculum. So unless your people in authority and in those boardrooms are aware that these are the issues that are on the ground, they're not going to be able to facilitate what your needs are. So your number one is to do your assessment and somehow make sure people in authority are aware of what is the problem. What are your key areas? What are your risk areas? Um, of course, some of us are leaders in, and be inclined to know how to fill in and how to put a risk plan together so that we can curb that. But not everybody can. But your number one key is as a community person, as a leader, to be able to put together what are the issues being faced by you, by the parents, by the teachers. So even teachers out there, you have a means to be able to get your voice heard. Please make sure it's heard. Allow for the children to make their voices heard too, because they are experiencing this on a daily basis. So when we're talking of SDGs at a higher level, yes, they're there. But I will always be the first to say it's not going to be easy to implement any change because unless you're on the ground like I am, you don't see things. People in boardrooms don't see things that children feel. They don't see the pains of an educator. They don't feel the differences that they feel on the ground level. Um, So when we have to talk about going forward and what we can do, the first thing is to do that assessment. The second is to make sure it's heard and read and you get a response. And the third is to keep persevering, because it never is going to change by you just sending one email. It's never going to change by just us having a discussion today and that's it. We need to keep persevering if we want the change. Because remember, the saying is we need to be the change. So I can be the change, Dr. Haider can be the change, we can all try, but we have to persevere with what we want that change to be. So going forward, we need to also get um, those people that are involved at higher level to come to our ground level. Make sure these ministers, for example, in different areas, different groups, come down and actually meet with you. Tell them, come and do a visit, and I will take you to 5 different schools. Let's go and visit the schools. Um, Open up yourself to negotiate with them instead of dictating to them that they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Don't fight with people. Let's try and find solutions together, because all of us will know what the problems are. I can sit and highlight many, many problems. So can you, Dr. Hay. But the point is, we need to bring solutions to the table as well. So where you have a solution for a government official, provide the solution as an idea to them. That might work. But going forward, you're going to have to be heard. You're going to have to be and create awareness in your community. Just one person sometimes is not really recognized, but 20 people will definitely be recognized. So we're not talking about you going and doing marches and stuff like that. I'm talking about each of you putting in writing the same issue. Send an email to a minister of education and say to them, in this specific area, this is what we're having, this is what the problem is. And we want to actually do this for the school. Can you help us to see what we can do? There are lots of NGOs as well, Dr. Hayden, I must say, to whomever asked the question. I know I work with quite a few of them who are on the ground, who want to make the differences with the education field. And sometimes because we don't reach the government people quick enough, and we find there's urgent matters that need to be dealt with, then we try and do what we can with the NGOs on the ground to make sure there's a difference felt with the kids. Um, Remember, policymakers take a very long time to make that policy change. And in that time, you got a child who needs the difference to be made. You got an educator who's having an issue with the mindset. You got a school that's breaking down or burnt down. So you got things happening, and you need quick answers. And sometimes get involved with the NGO that is in your area, and then you work with them to actually volunteer and see that these are changes you can make. And once you start to be involved, it's easier for you to actually make that email possible, to actually be the voice for those kids who are scared to speak up. So it all depends on you as an individual and what you wish to do. But inshallah, we all need to work together to make sure we can reach that beneficial, positive portion of quality education for our children and for all of us, for that matter, inshallah.
Yes, Bob. Thank you very much. And this time again, you have given a wonderful answer to it that yes, it's very important and we need to understand our own and the role of the particularly NGOs as well. And the persons in authority and the pragmatic view is very much important. The people who are working in the ground, they know the pragmatic view, what is happening and how, what are the different even solutions for that, because they know very well they are in the field. So we should be taking their opinion while making decisions, because it is going to impact us all. And you're doing wonderful job being connected with the wonderful NGOs and being volunteer and offering your services. I think that's the real contribution back to the world and society, that let's join hands together for making this world and planet a better place to live. And we have a huge responsibility, particularly as an educator, that we have to educate all and we have to come up with the solution. And I love again one of your phrase regarding that everybody of us know what are the problems, but the most important thing is what are the solution. We should come up towards the solution, and that is going to make the difference. Really, Prof, I enjoyed this session with you. What a nice and great speaker you are. Very nicely, you have connected all the wonderful concepts together in order to draw the conclusion out of it, particularly related to the education and what is quality education for that perspective. And I love, again, one of your phrase regarding the quality education means the quality life which you are spending and which you are living actually. That is the important thing. So, Prof, at the end of the session, we ask our each guest regarding their message to the world and your concluding remarks. So, what is your message to the world as a speaker, author, teacher, researcher, trainer, learner, professional, and educator, and your concluding remarks as well? Yes, please.
I would say to everybody out there, the first thing is remember you have to stay true to your creator and stay true to yourself. When you stay true to yourself in this way, knowing that you're answerable to your creator first, then you will value yourself as the gift he has made you to be. When you value yourself as this gift that you are, then you will want to have the quality of the life you are meant to have. And with today's topic in mind, then you will want to actually educate yourself to live that quality life and you will get the quality education, inshallah. So stay true to yourself and please grow yourself. Every one of us is worth it. And the one thing I will say is everyone in the world is having some form of difficulty, is facing some form of adversity. And to offer this little bit of hope, inshallah, from myself, I'd like to just say to you, if you are one of them, whoever you are, wherever you are, adversity and difficulty is only an opportunity. It is your window of opportunity, firstly, to grow yourself, to build your connection with your creator, and it's also for you to develop yourself so that you can live better tomorrow and make clearer decisions, inshallah. So thank you, Dr. Haider Shah, and to Kalwas for this amazing opportunity. I'm so honored to be here. And I hope, inshallah, that someone somewhere is going to have an impact that's positive from what we have spoken about today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof, for accepting our invitation and for your wonderful time. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And I really appreciate your wonderful, again, phrase of that take adversity as the opportunity to contribute. Yeah, I believe that this kind of mentality will bring the positive result and will make a real impact on the world, which is actually our aim is to have a positive contribution back to the society. And I think that's our prime responsibility. In whatever field we are, we can contribute for the betterment of the society, the region, and the global level as well, because we have the global citizenship. So, to the audience that do follow our distinguished guest speaker through her work, and you can email her for future learning and guidance. She is very generous and always ready to help the people. Moreover, wonderful explanations she has given, and I hope it will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding the quality of education. So that's all we have time for today, and thank you once again, Professor Dr. Mahreen Mia, for your wonderful time and presentation. And I would like to thank our audience who join us. If you have any additional question about information shared today, please email us or connect to the speaker directly. Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. So do not miss any session. Until next session, take care of yourself.